guys, what's going on? So Jim's around here somewhere, and he's the one that took me to this farm actually for the first time. And you know, this is like an old cracker style farm homestead. You know, they don't make them like this anymore. This is, you know, a farm of the past, we could say. And one of the main reasons I even came here today, you know, to be honest with you, I got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, back down to Jubilee phase 2. But I was told that, you know, John's getting older here. This could be their last year actually pressing cane this way out here. So I figured this is my opportunity to get out here, capture this for y'all, show you this, because this is like some old style of harvesting the sugarcane and actually making it into the syrup. You know, nobody does it this way anymore, and I'm sure it's, you know, been highly technically advanced of machines and all other types of things, you know. And so I'm going to take you over here to John, show you what's growing on around here. I think they still have a good amount of cane to harvest. We'll start pressing it, we'll start boiling it, and I honestly don't even know what I'm talking about. I'll let them tell you what's growing on. So good morning, sir. Where are we?
We're at Eco Farms in Plant City.
How long y'all been here, John?
Since 1985.
1985. You've been farming out here a while.
Yeah, we were in the nursery business, and it's a long story, but we looked at this property a year before we bought it, and we go, oh, it's too expensive. And you know, the price went down, and we negotiated, but we ended up here. We were city slickers, and but you know, I was in the ornamental tree business, and that's kind of, you know, like this property really suited palm trees, but it didn't take long, and
yeah,
you know, I wanted to do something else.
Something that made a little more sense, huh?
You know, I'm not a religious person, but you know, I think God had called me to be a farmer. You know, whatever that might mean.
You found your calling then, huh?
Yeah, farming.
Okay.
You know, I always thought, oh, this is my thinking, and it was for a long time that, you know, the most important people in the world are teachers. But it takes a little more intelligence or schooling than I had, and I thought, well, what's the second most important person is the farmer. And if you had a good combination there, you wouldn't have all these problems.
Yeah.
They had this Wolfer Ambassador program, and they were out there, and she was filming the thing, and she asked me the question about, you know, why am I a farmer? And as I kind of at the end of it, I don't know, I just kind of spewed out. I said, well, it's just as important as air, love, and food is just as important as those two things. As, you know, our relationships, you know, our air, and of course food is right there. But you know, we've putting that on the back seat. We just go to McDonald's for our food now, where in the old days you come to the farm and he had syrup, he had milk, he had vegetables, and it closed that loop, took the middleman, the man that made all the money out of the situation. So you know, it can completely change the way we looked at things.
Kind of started to give up our health for the simplicity of quick and go, huh?
Yeah, and it's like right now, all these people, they're going a vegetarian or a vegan diet, and then you look at a cornfield or a wheat field, and on the Great Plains you wonder, well, you know, how can they grow that stuff? It was because of the bison, because of all these herbivores that, you know, are naturally involved in our nature, and to take, you know, like you know, that circle there, you know, like you got the animals ate something we can't eat, and they poop and it fertilizes stuff, and you know, there we are.
You're really closing the loop out here,
yeah,
huh?
Closing the loop.
Cool.
That's what we're trying to do.
So what is this contraption? I mean, you didn't buy this thing at Walmart, right?
No,
they don't make them like this anymore, do they, John?
Yeah. Actually, you know, I moved out here, and in 1985, and I was always kind of going to auctions, farm auctions, and you know, I knew about this process. You know, you go to the fair and you see this cracker country, and here in Hillsborough County, and you know, I saw the mill and I saw the kettle. There's a kettle over there. And I bought them together. I bought the mill and the kettle at the auction.
They came as a pair then, huh?
Yeah, well, actually I was standing there, and you know how an auction is, like the farm auction that I go to, you can bid on your own stuff. So I think the owner was there, because I paid $250 for that and $250 for that. So for $500 I got the pair of things, and I brought them home. And I'm looking at them, and of course I understood the mill and how it worked by taking it apart, but it's completely different. It isn't like a round bearing. It's a a tapered bearing like that, and it pushes those things up so they don't drill a hole down in the bottom.
Oh.
Really kind of, it was very different. But the kettle, it's like, I'm thinking, how do you do this? How do you do this? And one day I'm going down the interstate. I probably had it for 5 years. And I didn't know what to do. And I noticed there was a farmer, and he had some sugarcane, and I went over there and I met this John Bennett.
Wow.
and this old timer, of course, he takes me over there, and he's got a sugar shack. And I go in the, and he's got one of these mills. Of course, his was worked on electricity. He had a little electric motor for it. But that's where I started my learning process.
So he taught you how to do this?
Yeah, he taught me how to do that.
So you're just carrying on this old school knowledge then, huh?
Yeah. And actually not too far from here, there was a bunch of retired, they're in Antioch, but they were retired railroad guys, and this guy had a mill, and they would do that on Saturdays, and they'd have a covered dish, and it was kind of open, and he's right on the road. He's not like me, but he'd have a lot of people there, and I learned a lot of knowledge from them. So I kind of went around, I didn't know anything about it, but I kind of said, well, this is how you build a furnace, and it works.
Wow, okay.
But we kind of salvaged stuff like that. Was the base is sitting on.
Oh, so really when you got this, it was just the top part of the press then?
Just okay. The top part of it, and we just kind of put it together. But the base was actually a concrete structure for a sign on the interstate. You can kind of see the aluminum on the top of it. And I had a friend, and we put a hole down and put that in there and anchored it to that. And then of course that was off of a phosphate mine. It was some of the
stack. Wow.
Yeah, the stack. And then another friend was a mason, and he goes, oh, I did a job over there, and they got some extra bricks, and I went over there and got that. And,
oh, so that's like the special fire brick.
Well, no,
the heat brick. Okay.
Not really. The furnace does get hot, but it really doesn't get hot as say you would have it where, I mean, it burns real clean.
Okay.
But there's no fire brick in it, and it was real. He was a friend, and I kind of enjoy doing stuff like that. Doing brickwork, but he goes, well, let me help you set it up, and he got here and he did the whole thing.
So this is pretty much like a cane station then, huh?
Well, in there's
some dairy over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing there is kind of interesting. That we had a house, one of our houses burned down, and you can see the wood's kind of charred, but we salvaged the wood out of the house. And I had a friend. He sells this tin, and it was a little rusted. And it's been there for about 15 years, this structure, but he gave me the tin, and then I traded for these posts. Now I did have to, it was part of a chicken building that was here originally, and you can kind of see the lanes. They came down here and they turn around and they pick up the eggs, so I did have to pour a little bit of concrete,
So most of this was salvaged and traded for?
Yeah,
wow.
I kind of, a follower of Joel Solitaire.
Yeah.
Always, if you can make it do.
He would definitely approve. It's just not mobile, I guess, right? A lot of his equipment, but yeah. Looks like you guys have gotten your use out of this. You're here all the time. Hey, what are you doing? Are you already pressing over here? Are you jumping the gun?
She's ready to go to work.
What's your name?
Haley.
Whoa, you're gonna have to say that a little louder for us. What is it?
Haley.
They let you drive this golf cart? And what are you gonna do with the golf cart?
You're gonna go around in a circle, aren't you?
Don't you get dizzy from doing that?
No.
You don't get dizzy? Have you ever drinking this stuff? Is it pretty good? Really?
Yeah.
Is it like Kool-Aid or sugar water or what?
Sugar water.
Sugar water? So they made these in Savannah. Do you think they grew cane that far north?
Oh, heck yeah.
Really?
Well, they grow sorghum which is from a sugarcane up into Missouri. I'm just gonna let a little bit of it run down there since I didn't.
What is this, the clean out?
Yeah, just cleaning it out a little bit. I mean, really, it's going through this boiling process, and
Do you double press the cane? Do you push it through a second time or just one time?
No, I just kind of do it once.
So this is kind of like sugar in the raw right here.
Yeah, you could actually, Mr. Bennett, he would do one, and then he'd take the thing and he'd put an orange, and he says, "You boys want some lemon?" He'd take lemon.
Yeah.
You want lemonade? And he'd stick it in there, and they'd pull the lemon through there. And
Nice. Jim, you're doing a good job here.
I got experience.
Wait.
All right, so I know I said harvesting cane the old-fashioned style, and obviously an electric golf cart is not old-fashioned, so they've taken an old-fashioned piece of equipment and basically, you know, retrofitted a golf cart to kind of make it operate. If we had to hand turn this, we still would be, you know, first bucket probably. So I think we've gotten 6 buckets now into this vat, and you can see it's getting there. It's so wide at the top, it's probably gonna take a little while to dent it.
What? Yeah.
Cool. Hey, got sugarcane juice. What do you think?
Good.
Is it coming along?
It's so funny when they're real little, you know, you wouldn't let them drive the golf cart.
Yeah.
And they wait for this day, you know. You go, oh, this is really serious. And they drive around. Be careful, Haley. We don't want to go to the hospital today.
Now, John, it looked like you guys barely dented your sugarcane out here. I mean, do you do this a couple of times then?
Well, it looks like we got about 5 trees. You know, last year I only did 1.
1, okay.
And you know, I'm getting older, and we're having trouble finding help, people that really want to work on a farm. And I wasn't even planning on doing one this year.
You were going to skip?
Yeah, I was going to just
Skip or retire?
skip.
Okay,
Maybe he would
okay.
retire, I don't know. But anyhow, we got a volunteer, and he was from Puerto Rico. He grew up on a subsistence farm, and he did this as a kid.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of interesting. As soon as he saw the sugar cane, he was just having it, and he started working in it, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, so traditionally down in South Florida, I mean, big sugar, highly chemicalized, I mean, destroying waterways. Do you have to fertilize this crop at all?
Manure.
You give it manure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, this year I think we only did it twice. We just take a load of manure and take shovels and throw it in it. But basically, that's all it is. And it's a perennial. It's kind of a permaculture plant.
Comes back, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the crop you see there is probably about 6-7 years old.
Wow. Any pest problems?
There's a weevil and ants.
A weevil and ants?
And more of a rodent problem. Rats.
Oh, rats will eat it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's sweet. They love doing it.
What do you guys call the bowl? The kettle?
I call it a kettle.
A kettle. And how many gallons fits into the kettle?
60 gallons.
60 gallons.
And you end up in the end with about 8 gallons of syrup. So
That's about 12 of these buckets.
yeah, about that.
And I've only been filming for 4 minutes. That's not too bad. Okay.
Oh wait,
There you go, CJ. I'll tell you what.
That Irma kink makes it kind of hard.
Yeah.
Irma bent the cane and made it tougher to go in, huh?
Kind of like corn. I don't know if you you got a cornfield, you get a storm and it blows it over, and you get all excited, like, oh my God, you set it up, well, it'll grow up. It turns and starts growing up and growing up.
I am having some fun here. It was, oh, whoa, Jim, what are you doing?
Cane.
We haven't gotten any of that on film. What's the trick?
I don't know. I'm a apprentice at this.
What?
But they used to use
Apprentice?
a cane cutting knife, and that looked dangerous to me. So he said this is the way they've been doing it. So
Okay, just cutting it off at the ground?
cut it off the ground, and then he didn't even tell me this. Was stripping off.
He said he had a special cane knife he'd show me. Oh, so you are stripping it off?
Yeah, because that's what I saw he had there. He's never given me instructions here. We'll just make it happen. He'll tell me if I'm doing something wrong.
Do you know if this is a special variety or anything?
I don't. It's a red one.
It's a red variety, okay.
Yeah, so this is one I'd like to grow because it's reddish black. So I'm.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Did I just hear Jim say he's gonna grow some sugarcane?
You know, we were talking. We're looking at the difference between, crops that we need, and sugar is something that I kind of like, even though I'm a diabetic. And the cane syrup has this unbelievably wonderful flavor with the molasses in it. It's got full of sulfurs, micronutrients, so that's something. And then we were just talking about the cane juice at market.
Woo!
So if I could put somebody doing that, You know,
Stacking functions over here.
Yeah.
Whoa!
So we'll see.
So this is the sugarcane row, and you can see it looks pretty dense. There's a lot of juice here still.
Okay, there's 5 pressings here.
Yeah, 5 pressings here. Wow. So that means he takes 60 gallons, turns it into 8 gallons of cane syrup. So he'll have 8 times 6. Wow, okay, so you can end up with a lot of syrup.
Right, well, think about that. So how many, so that's gallons. 8 gallons goes into quarts times 4, so that's 32 quarts every time. This is a lot of work for 32 quarts.
It is. What does a quart sell for?
I think he's only selling them for like 12 or maybe 15.
12 bucks a quart
So,
for organic sugarcane syrup.
so 12 times 32, what's that?
Ooh, I might need my calculator.
Only 400 bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot of people working.
So there is 0 waste in this process, and that right there is what was basically pressed. And I don't know if you guys have seen my video there from the Asian market, but they double press this through that mechanical press, and then they add a little bit of lime juice or ginger. Well, you know, this leftover went through one time, and this is gonna go to the cows. So there's a little bit of sugar left in here. This is something for them to snack on. Kind of neat, you know, there's definitely no waste here in the system. And I had pointed out a couple of minutes ago about that, the golf cart. You know, obviously they probably didn't have golf carts back in the day, and y'all are probably thinking that's not very sustainable. Well, something I'll point out that John had told me while the camera was off, and I'll take you guys over here and get some pictures in a minute. But over here on this barn, it has a giant solar array, and they use that solar array to charge the electric golf carts. So, I mean, there's not really much of a carbon footprint going on here. And something else he pointed out, you know, these batteries in most of these golf carts are almost fairly original. He's had them for like 5 or 6 years, so they're probably coming up on due to replace. He's got a couple of golf carts. We had to switch them out twice during that pressing process. So something I'd like to reiterate and bring back up. I don't know if you guys caught it. I don't know what the audio was like, but while we were pressing, John was saying, you know, that he maybe has used a 50-gallon drum of diesel fuel in a year. And I mean, you look around this place, there's some big loaders. Yeah, there's a couple more monster big loaders underneath here, you know, and these are antique dinosaurs. They definitely don't make them like this anymore. And something else that I've heard about John, that he's just unreal mechanic. You know, he could fix anything, and you know, they definitely don't make mechanics like this anymore. From what I understand is, you know, there's a lot of farms out here in the Plant City area, and John's the one that, you know, fixes everyone's equipment here at the local farm. So he's definitely, you know, the man they call if they have a problem. Something else I'll also point out, John didn't mention, but if you guys are here in the Tampa Bay area, John does a sustainable living show on 88.5, and that's a community supported radio. So he's on there, I think it's every Monday or Tuesday morning, I should know that. But 88.5 Sustainable Living Show, you know, look it up. And speaking of sustainable, like I had just mentioned, I'd show you guys in a couple of seconds. But if you look over here, there's some solar panels on the bottom. And there's a big array up there on the top. So that's what charges up those electric golf carts that you saw actually spinning that cane mill. So kind of cool, lots of neat stuff going on out here. And you know, when I first got into this, what we want to call permaculture, sustainability movement, you know, John was the guy that I ran into at all these local farms that was selling his produce. He just told me a couple minutes ago, you know, he just turned 69 years old. He's probably slowing down a little bit, you know, probably not doing as many markets as they used to. They have a little bit of help that comes from time to time, whether it be woofers, volunteers, but really not making, you know, enough of an income off the land here to actually pay somebody to help them out here full time. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more 411 from John about this, and we're heading on over. They're lighting at that right now, and I want to show you guys the cane syrup process. So like I said, this is old school. You know, there ain't a lot of guys that do this like this anymore, if any. You know, if you guys have seen this done like this, if you know somebody that does it like this, put it down in the comments down below, because that's definitely beyond my knowledge or knowing. Let's go check out the syrup process though. Hold tight.